I walk with God. I walk with Spirit every single day on this journey of the mirroring of health and wealth.
Be anywhere, but when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips that I am.
It's important to clear that channel. The most important time to fast when you are just overwhelmed. You feel overwhelmed, clouded, buried in the stresses of life.
One of the lies that we tell ourselves is that we are making progress. We tend to equate progress with concessions. We can no longer make that mistake. See, it's no in between. You're either free or you're a slave. There's no such thing as second-class citizenship. But a lot of you running around talking about you Democrats, and the Democrats got you in the biggest trick going. When black people become serious about the revolutionary struggle that they are caught up in, whether they recognize it or not, when they begin to go down and knock off people who are oppressing them, that's when the revolutionary struggle unfolds. Not until.
To the Panthers podcast, where we're here to educate, regulate, and demonstrate. Educate the youth, regulate the truth, and demonstrate the proof. And today, family, I have a special guest with me. I have my sister here. She deals very much into health, wellness, because we all know that a conscious mind is good, but we also need to have a conscious body. We need to have a combination of a conscious mind and a conscious body so we can face all of the things, all of the obstacles that we see that is being put in our way through health and nutrition, all the different aspects. We've had a plethora of elders that have laid out the foundation, like Dr. Sabi, Paul Goss, Queen Afua, and the list goes on of all of the other people that have contributed so much to our society as it relates to health and wellness. So family, get ready to be, get ready to be taught everything that you need to know from the perspective that my sister is here to bring it with. Health and wellness journey is the key to our survival. It was the key to our ancestors' survival, and is going to be key to our survival in the future. So family, without any further ado, my sister Veganease, break it down for the people, who you are, what you represent. I appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. So my name is Vanessa Wilson. Most people, when they see me out, they call me the Veganease. So I understand that I represent that brand. So I owned a wellness brand called the Veganease, where I essentially help people deprogram and reprogram their gut in order to achieve spiritual clarity. I personally have been vegan or observing the vegan lifestyle for over 10 years now. Before it was a fad, before any of that, it was just my path to awakening. And I utilize all of the wisdom, the pieces of information, the genuine experience that I have gained over the course of my journey to help people in their journey through various ancient modalities such as, breathwork, pranayama, intuitive movement, grounding, just getting back to nature, recentering themselves, mindfulness, and then most of all, conscious eating and dieting. And there's so many ways to do that. There's so many ways that I offer that, between online coaching, services, detox retreats, and everything in between.
If you could just explain to the people, what started your spiritual vegan lifestyle journey?
Simply put, in 2 words, divine intervention. I tell people, and as I reflect on my own journey, is so interesting because that's exactly what it was. I tell people all the time, like, this lifestyle, this awakening chose me. And that's how it went for me. And so it actually initially started out as a weight loss journey. Back, I think when I was like 20 years old, I saw a photo of myself, and maybe most of my women can relate to this, but I just saw this image of myself and I was unrecognizable. I was like, who is that? Like, no one told me I looked that way. And it was such an awakening. It clicked, something clicked in my heart, in my mind, in my body. And just, yeah, I just went off to start doing the things and embodying the practices that was going to usher me into these new goals for my overall health and wellness. And so, just a little bit of context with more of my journey. You know, I grew up in New York City to two Jamaican parents. I grew up eating the standard American diet, like all the junk food, all the stuff from the bodega, living in IHOP, you know, I mean, you name it. So I ate pretty much like the standard American. And at home, you know, the home cooked meals were that standard traditional Jamaican cuisine. And so there wasn't this emphasis on health, right? There was more of an emphasis on eating for survival, eating for taste, eating for just fulfillment and pleasure, and not really a diet heavy in fruits and vegetables, emphasizing hydration, none of that, right? And so I like to preface that because there's this reminder that just because I have been able to succeed in this lifestyle for this amount of time and it comes naturally to me now, I started out like pretty much the average American. Um, but like I was saying, when I was 20, I got this awakening that I was too heavy for myself. And the two things that we know that we should do if we want to lose weight is eat right and exercise. I think we can ask anybody, you know, if you want to drop 20 pounds in a couple of months, you know, what do you need to do? And the average person really knows that. But it's activating that becomes the issue. It's activating the discipline and turning on those healthier habits and disregarding those destructive habits that really are going to drive you to get to those goals. And like I said, it was something that was activated in me, and I just started on the journey. So I started out with just eliminating. I didn't start out vegan for that first year of my weight loss journey. I just started out moving my body and cutting out fast foods, cutting out like sugary, you know, snacks and things like that. This was actually the first time in my life that I was grocery shopping for myself and trying to cook my own recipes and things like that. So it was a legitimate journey, and I'm pretty sure I got help from spirit that was helping me in those beginning stages to end up where I am right now.
Yes, yes, definitely. And just, you know, when you talk about just understanding just the basics, that kind of put you to start moving in a different direction. So let me ask you a question. When you started your health journey, were you mentally conscious as well?
Yes, that's a great question. And thank you, because I'll be forgetting about that part too. So my detox actually started, you know, going down the YouTube rabbit holes, right? I think I had watched, there was this classmate of mine who introduced the Hidden Color series to me. And I spiraled in the best way possible. Because within this conscious information of waking up to yourself and waking up to who you really are, there's this drive and this desire to become not just self-aware but self-sustainable, you know. And so I became so aware that I was like, no one's forcing me into these fast food establishments. No one's putting you know, no one's like coercing me. Like, no one is making me do this. Like, these are conscious decisions. Or maybe not even fully conscious decisions, but this is still my doing. And so there was this activation of taking responsibility of my own actions and realizing that what I'm eating, what I'm watching, what I'm ingesting through all of my sensory organs is within my control. And it empowered me. It was so empowering that I was like, okay, I need to go deeper and deeper into this. And so, yeah, I love coming back to that detail because it's all encompassing. And I started waking up to the different documentaries. A part of my journey in those early stages too was cleansing my social media accounts. I was unfollowing all of the BS and starting to follow more pages and representatives of the lifestyle that I was looking to embody, as opposed to the opposite.
Socially conscious and then physically conscious, because a lot of times there might be some people who just focus on being healthy in the physical form, but mentally it's not equal. So I think that there always needs to be a strategic balance between the two. And I definitely think to what you're speaking to definitely exemplifies that. And then so just now, so when we talk about health and we talk about, when you start to eat better, you start to think better, you start to live better, you start to do better. Is there a connection between health and wealth?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just want to preface this by saying, and you kind of alluded to this before, but I want to reiterate, like, I'm speaking solely from my experience. Like, I have lived this, I live it, I breathe it every single day. I walk with God, I walk with spirit every single day on this journey of the mirroring of health and wealth. And I'm so passionate about it because I feel richer, I feel more enriched, I have just more abundant experiences. And we'll get into, like, the definitions of abundance and all of these things and how it correlates to wealth, but simply from focusing and centering health as the focus in my life. And so, absolutely, brother, there is definitely a connection between health and wealth. As we all know, as within, so without, as above, so below. And as most of us can probably connect to by now, if you're in any stage in your journey, you know that how you think reflects or what you see on the outside, and the circumstances that you attract and all of these things definitely are reflections of what is happening inside of you. And so there is definitely this connection on what's happening on a molecular level, on a cellular level, microscopic level, that's definitely dictating what you're experiencing and what's showing up in your outer experience. And I think that, it's easy to, like, say that and, like, have this, like, overall understanding of that. But when you really get to a place where you know this and you are diligent about applying it to your life, and you start to utilize the tools to try it out, and you see, like, oh, okay, I'm putting this into my mind, I'm putting this into my mouth, I'm putting this into my ears, and this is what's being reflected on the outside, you're going to be motivated to continue to filter or be very mindful about what you do ingest. And so, as far as the connection between health and wealth, I think it's important to start out with our traditional definition of what wealth is and what it looks like. And traditionally, we see wealth as the status symbols, the big old house on the hill, the shiny car, the chains, the accolades, the awards, all of the things, right? And those are, relatively speaking, symbols of wealth. But what is at the foundation of that? What's the root of that, right? And so there's definitely a correlation. And so, and if I'm looking off to the side, I just took notes a little earlier, but I would like to redefine wealth as, it's simply the use of your innate resources and activating your privilege to take the best care of yourself. Like, to me, that's literally what wealth is. When you understand that you don't need anything outside of you, because that's not the source of your supply, that's not the source of your wealth, right? These are just tangible things that, represent what's happening on the inside. So when you start to really activate your privilege and take good care of yourself through your breath, you don't need any money for that. That's free. That came with you. You came with that. Your awareness, and it just starts to happen, and it starts to make sense. And then nobody needs to teach you this. You don't need to pick it up and read it in a book. You don't need to go to the seminar. You don't need to necessarily spend your money to find out the information. You start to realize it's within you. And so this becomes the foundation as far as health and taking care of yourself, of what you're able to attract, what you're able to experience, and the beautiful, abundant experiences that you understand is available to you.
In modern day form, what I think we can use and utilize on an everyday basis. If we start moving towards these goals, like when you said that, it took you like of a light switch, the light switch turned on, you realized, you saw some pictures, you saw, yourself, and you reflected and you said, I want to make change, and you did it. And that's really what it's about. A lot of people sometimes can't get to that step of knowing that they need to make change. And then they get so far in that it's even more harder to get out if you, in comparison to if you had done it, a ways back. What are the beginning steps to living a healthier lifestyle?
Beautiful. I would say first step is definitely awareness, right? There's some level of, well, first of all, like what is making you aware that you even have the desire to live this healthier lifestyle. You must first be aware that you're not healthy. And so most of the times this shows up in our pain points. This shows up in the fatigue, the stress that we're feeling, our how we feel limited in resources. We feel stuck. We feel stagnant. We're experiencing ailments and health conditions, and it becomes unbearable. It becomes overwhelming. And you're like, something's got to give. Something has to give. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. So I think you really do need to, just like, again, using my journey, my own experience as the example here. It wasn't until I saw this photo of myself and I saw like how physically unfit I looked, and I was honestly repulsed by this image of myself. And so there's no way that I could meet myself with this image and continue with the habits that created that image in the first place. So I do think you definitely need awareness of why it is, or what it is that's driving you to want to live a healthier lifestyle in the first place. You need to be aware of your pain points. Next, I would say get help. Get help, meaning, now we have an abundance of resources, an abundance of brothers and sisters like you and I. The networks are out here, the communities are out here, people are out here teaching this stuff. So I think, back when I was doing it, I often forget this point too about my journey. I started this journey with my boyfriend at the time. So I had a partner, I had an accountability partner, where we were figuring it out together. We were finding new vegan restaurants together. We were trying new vegan recipes. We were, just being, excited on this journey together. So you definitely are going to need support. So whether you have the resources to hire that type of support, or you have a friend or a family member or someone in your network that you can partner with who is aligned in with the same goals and aspirations, definitely start to look for those networks of support, because you're going to need it. It's not something like I'm not going to say you can't do it by yourself. It's just going to be a lot harder. And why, right? When there's an abundance of people and community that can help usher you into this new version of yourself. I would say those are the beginning steps. And then I would also add on affirmations. I like to think of the brain as a computer, right? And so what you put in is what you're going to get out. And so affirmations or self-talk regarding the outcome that you want is a critical step, in eventually experiencing that version of yourself. So start with writing down, even if it's the most simple thing, start really general until you can get more specific on the version of yourself that you are trying to create. but start writing down, and I'll drop this gem here, and then I'll create some space. But what I did, because that could be overwhelming, like, okay, affirmations, where do I start? Positive self-talk for someone who probably has not done this. So something that helped me in the beginning was getting a little notepad, a little book, and separating my affirmations by the area of life. So health and wellness was one of those areas of life, or diet, you can say. Fitness was another area of life. Motivation was another area of life. Career or finance goals was another area of life. Healthy relationships was another area of life. Family and all of these things, right? And so I feel like that kind of makes it more digestible, where you can just hyper focus. And now we have AI where you can literally type in a prompt and get affirmations for this specific area of life. So if you are wanting to not necessarily go vegan, but want to start on your health and wellness journey, I would definitely say affirmations. And then I'm going to plug that from that personal experience came an affirmation album that I actually have streaming on all platforms. So we can get into that a little later. But it's very helpful to read, write, and listen to the version of yourself that you want to create.
Yes, definitely. And I think that is really key, because a lot of people, they don't listen to that, that intuition. They don't listen to themselves when, they know the decision they can make. And, sometimes some of the things that we see in our society stop us from, listening to ourselves. But the first person we should be listening to is ourselves, And I feel like if you're tapped in spiritually, if you're tapped in, mentally and physically, we get these things. And for other people, it might be a little bit harder. But, once they really tap into that, spirituality of self, then, there's no limit to what they can do. You've heard of the concept, you are what you eat, things of that nature. So let me ask you this. Can a person's spirituality influence the things they consume?
I would say definitely. I would say definitely. And when I think of that, the first thing comes to mind, and I noticed this early on in my journey, is like most religions, or just spiritual ways of life, they incorporate some type of dietary restriction or some type of dietary rules, right? That if you want to observe this particular religion or spiritual path, this is something that has to be in alignment. And to be clear, like, I don't necessarily, like, I follow self-love or self-awareness, right? More so, I'm not subscribed to a specific religion or spiritual system. More so spirit of self. But that still reigns true even in my journey and my experience. And that's why, as I said at the beginning, when I introed myself, this connection between diet and spirituality, right? And so the goal here is to experience or achieve spiritual clarity. And we do that through the conscious dieting. We do that through watching what we eat and being very intentional about what we consume. And I think this will be a great place to also add in, it's food is not just, what we eat or what we put in our mouths, right? It's, again, the things that we listen to, the things that we watch, the conversations that we engage in, the people that we surround ourselves with, how we do everything, right? It's all we're taking it in. The skin is the largest organ of the body. And so we're consciously eating, right? We're breathing the air that we breathe, the quality of water that we drink. And I don't want to overwhelm anybody, but I just also want to bring awareness and expand how we're thinking about consumption and how we're thinking about what we eat. And so definitely this concept of you become, I'm sorry, what did you say before? You are what you eat, but the effect of your environment, right? Nature versus nurture. So the effect of where you place yourself definitely have an effect on your your connection to spirit, your connection to self, and vice versa. So I do think that diet plays an incredible role in how well we are able to clear that conduit so that we can hear clearer, so that we can hear our own voice, so that we don't have to keep asking for advice. Because I think the almost like unfortunate reality is that, you know, we've entered adulthood and we're like, oh, no one really knows what they're doing, right? Like we're all just winging it and trying to figure it out. So there's no one that can give you the blueprint on what you should do, what you should be, how you should be in your life. You really do have to figure that out for yourself. Yes, you have the help and support of resources and community, and we encourage you to utilize that, but at some point you have to continue coming back to self. And so the greatest thing is to clear that channel, which to me is spirituality, and the things that we eat definitely affect, you know, how clear that channel is so that we can hear that inner voice.
Yes, yes. And it's important also, you know, in what you were saying, highlighting, you know, the concepts of diet and the concepts of, you know, it's not just what we eat, you know, how we eat it. You know, when we talk about the religions and we talk about all the different things, and when we look at the Muslim religion and as it relates to fasting, and then now, you know, even if you're not that religious, you still can be a person who participates in fasting, participates in abstinence of eating food for certain durations of the day. Can you explain the importance of fasting, and when is it the most important to fast?
Beautiful question. I believe it's the most important time to fast when you're just overwhelmed. You feel overwhelmed, clouded, buried in the stresses of life. Like when it's at its worst, it's like the worst thing that you can do is lean more into the habits and the crutches that created that avalanche of stress and pain, right? And that is kind of like the natural thing we want to do. We want to go to our comfort. Like eating is very much a comfort for a lot of us. A lot of us also eat our emotions, and things of this nature. So we want to go the opposite way. You know, one of the best ways to see what has control over you is to fast from it, right? And so the same way we talked about how food, like edible food, is not the only way we consume. We can fast from people, we can fast from conversations, we can fast from gossip, we can fast from social media and technology, we can fast from, you know, different lifestyle habits. But so I just want to broaden again how we're thinking about fasting. But yes, as it applies to food, edible food, it's incredibly important to fast, because as I would, just to expound on what I was saying a little earlier, it's important to clear that channel. You know, there's a lot, especially those of us in the metropolitan areas, in the larger cities, where we're not living, we don't have full control over how we're sourcing our foods, how we're sourcing our ingredients, the quality of our water, the quality of our air. A lot of these things are just naturally not within our control. And so, first of all, work with what you have. The most beautiful thing about how powerful we are is our resilience. So no matter how quote unquote bad it feels or bad it can get, or how contaminated these elements are, fasting reminds you, like literally the physiological process and the mental process, it reminds you of your power. So it's a way to take back your power and control what you can control. And it's a great way to see yourself, to hear yourself, to feel yourself. And then you can make more clear, concise, empowering decisions over your life. And so I hope I'm not speaking in circles, but that is like, I see the importance of fasting. And I also want to highlight it sounds very drastic. It sounds like, most people think like, oh, I gotta go fast for 7 days, or I gotta do a whole 30-day detox. And it's like, in increments. You can fast for a few hours. You can do intermittent fasting. There's so many ways to do it. But the whole point is to create a space for, first of all, to give your digestive system a break. Sometimes we're just doing too much. We're eating too much. I'm not a believer that we need that 3 heavy meals a day. The reality is that a lot of us are living lifestyles where we don't actually need as much food as we're consuming. Food is fuel. And so there was one time where, our lifestyles, we were more agricultural, or we were out on the fields, and we were, hunting our own food, or we were gathering, or, we were getting lumber to build things. And a lot of us are not, like, let's be real. Some of us are, but a lot of us are not. So we need to adapt a diet that supports, and balances the physical activity that we're doing. And a lot of us are actually using way more brain power these days. A lot of us are engaged in more spiritual, heartfelt work. And this is where we probably should be eating the lightest, so that we can be the most connected to source, right? And so getting our fuel and energy from the earth itself, going out and grounding, getting your energy and your resources from the soil, drinking more water, really hydrating, getting that nutrients from the sun. And I'm definitely not saying don't eat at all, but we need to balance, because we're eating too much. And it's offsetting. And this is why we're experiencing, high rates of obesity and diabetes and high blood pressure, and things that are honestly so preventable. So fasting is a way to, I'm making so many points, but it's a way to just cleanse and reset, so that you can get back to center, so that you can hear, see, and feel yourself.
Excellent. You put everything in a perspective that everybody can understand, the importance. And even just when you elaborated on the fact that it's not even just food, you can fast and abstain from other things that you might feel that is hindering your growth and hindering your process. So that definitely is good when, you understand that it can go across the board, health and wellness, and then mental, because everybody's talking about mental health in this generation. And we know that, there's a direct correlation. So definitely is good to see people like yourself and other people of this generation pushing forth the movement, so we can be back to being more healthy and thinking, more on the revolutionary tip. So definitely, I appreciate that. I appreciate you. This was definitely another wonderful episode of Power to the Panthers podcast. So before we go, is there any other gems, because you dropped a lot of gems, but is there any other gems that you would like to drop on the people?
Operate in your authenticity. And this is something that I recently posted about. And it's this reminder of, like, people will tell you to be yourself, but you can't be yourself if you don't know yourself, right? And so there are versions of yourself that you may look at, and it's not your favorite thing to look at, but you have to sit with it. You have to sit with you. There's no, like, everything else is a distraction. And so the more comfortable you get with sitting in the silence, with sitting with yourself, with sitting when it's just you and God in the room, the better off and the more confident and sure of yourself you'll be in life. The more you'll be able to create authentically, and the more you'll be able to just feel yourself and attract your soul tribe, attract the people that are genuinely for you. But we're definitely in a place where we got to remove the masks. We got to, break down all the distractions and really just be okay with sitting with ourselves, not distracting ourselves, not distracting yourself with food, social media, all the things that we already talked about. Get used to just detoxing and sitting with your authentic self, and then begin to incrementally move on the things that are going to improve yourself. Whatever those healthier habits look like, maybe waking up earlier, maybe just having more bold conversations, more honest conversations, whatever it may be, reading more, studying more, pouring into your art, working out your body. Like, these are things that are definitely within your control. They're possible. And I really love empowering and reminding people of their own power. The power, you have it. Everything else is it's an illusion, for real. So you are the real power. Everything you really want to do, are called to do, you can actually do it. You just have to be able to sit with yourself and love yourself, love your full authentic self.
Beautiful, beautiful. So is there any way that people can get in contact with you, social media, any websites that people can, connect with the health and wellness journey, if that's something that they choose to do?
Absolutely. So right now I'm only on Instagram, so you all can find me at _Veganease. That's the word vegan and the word ease, because I make vegan easy for you. And the website is veganeasellc.com. So any events, retreats, offerings that I have available will be posted within those two resources.
Yes, most definitely. Thank you. And family, please go check that out. Go follow on Instagram. If you have any questions, concerns about health wellness journeys, or you would like to consult with her about it, please hit her up. This is what we do, family. We're here to build a network, a team of people on a revolutionary platform. And right here, Power to the Panthers podcast is exactly where it's going down. So family, I appreciate y'all time. There's been another wonderful episode. And just like we do about this time, Huey, take us away.
Serious about the law of this country if the country itself is not serious about it. I think first we have to make them serious about the law, and many of the laws that they're serious about are bad laws, so we have to change those. But we're not going to, I don't think it should be required of us to limit our activities within certain behaviors prescribed by this corrupt system.
Thanks for watching. This episode of Power to the Panthers podcast has been brought to you by Panther Prince Productions.